Chapter 10. Jordan, wake up. Jordan felt a hand lightly tap his face. He opened his eyes and saw Dad kneeling over him. The sun was rising, which startled Jordan. He'd been passed out on the floor all night. The last thing he remembered was... He jumped to a sitting position, his heart suddenly racing. Those glossy eyes glaring at him through the blinds. "Dad, there was something outside. It chased me." "What are you talking about?" Dad looked wary. Before Jordan could reply, Connor came trotting down the steps from the kitchen. "What happened?" he asked, a bowl of cereal in his hands. "Where were you?" Dad asked him, sounding a little angry. "Upstairs." "All night?" "Yes." "No, you weren't," Jordan chimed in. "I was looking for you. I couldn't find you anywhere." Connor looked at him, a deer caught in headlights. "I was probably in the bathroom. What's going on?" He and Jordan looked at Dad. "I fell asleep in my office," Dad said. "I just woke up a minute ago and found Jordan passed out right here. He said there was something outside. Did you see or hear anything?" "No," Connor replied. "Maybe it was a dog." Dad actually flinched at that. Why? "Are you okay?" Dad asked Jordan. "Yes." "Good. Get ready for school, both of you." He stood and looked through the blinds to the backyard. "Shouldn't Jordan go to a doctor or something?" Connor asked. Without looking back, Dad said, "He'll be fine." The boys showered, dressed, and ate breakfast. Connor helped himself to a second bowl of cereal. While at the table, Jordan asked, "Where were you? Really?" Connor stared at him for a moment before replying, "I was outside." "Doing what?" Jordan felt a chill go down his spine. "Hanging out with a friend." "Were you in the backyard?" "Sort of. We were out in the woods. We were scouting a spot to pitch the tents this weekend." Jordan tilted his head, studying his cousin. "Who were you with?" Connor suddenly grew very uncomfortable. "A friend." "Is this friend going camping with us?" "No." Jordan continued to study his cousin before deciding to drop the subject. "You didn't see or hear anything last night?" "We heard you scream, but we were far away and didn't know it was you, so we ignored it." "How did you get back in the house?" "I climbed up to my window, since the back door was locked." "Were you really passed out all night down there?" Jordan nodded as he looked down at the den. "I don't know what happened. I guess it's possible to be so scared that you pass out. Maybe I imagined it all." "Do you still want to go camping?" Jordan sighed. "No, but I will anyway. Somebody has to keep an eye on you." On the way to the bus stop at the end of the street, the boys saw crabby old Mr. Lepper standing on his front porch, staring at them as they passed. "I hate that old bastard," Connor said, staring back. "Dad hates him too," said Jordan. "He's always watching everybody, or complaining about petty things, Dad says." "I hate him because he always stares at me." "You're paranoid." "I'm attractive. He probably has a thing for little boys." Jordan laughed. "He can be your sugar daddy." They laughed together as they reached the bus stop. At school, Connor told Aaron and Travis about Jordan's run-in with the Texas Devil last night. Jordan hadn't even thought of that as a possibility until the words were out of his cousin's mouth. He had thought the thing to be human, or at least humanoid, or, in the best-case scenario, imagined. The news seemed only to make Aaron and Travis even more excited about the expedition to come. As Jordan walked from English to algebra, he saw none other than Deirdre Marshall standing just outside his math class. "Hello, Mr. Scott," she greeted cheerfully. "Just the man I was looking for." Jordan smiled. He liked being called a man by a beautiful woman, even if she was only using him. "Did you talk to your dad about the interview?" "He said he wasn't interested." The reporter tapped her chin with her index finger and chewed on her lip. Jordan could smell her vanilla perfume once again. "I figured he'd say no. I really just wanted him to know he's still on my radar. I appreciate you asking." "Miss Marshall, why are you so interested in my dad's past?" She suddenly looked at Jordan with renewed interest. "Did he say that? Does he think I'm interested in his past?" Jordan felt as if he'd said too much. "Aren't you?" he asked, hoping to fix his mistake. She nodded. "It's interesting that his mind went there, though. Very interesting." Jordan saw his class was only half full, but he needed to ask the reporter something while he had the chance. "Miss Marshall, did something happen to my dad when he was a kid?" Miss Marshall grinned. "A lot of things happened, young man." Jordan couldn't get his little talk with the reporter out of his mind as the day wore on. She was interested in Dad, and not because of his occupation. Jordan hated thinking there was some deep, dark family secret eluding him. He was almost tempted to help the woman, if only to satisfy his own curiosity. But what if that secret proved embarrassing or harmful to the family name? Jordan would never forgive himself for airing the dirty laundry for the world to see. Perhaps it was best to stay away from Miss Marshall, like Dad advised. After school, Jordan helped Connor gather the camping gear and hide it from Dad. Next, they had to come up with a believable excuse for why they would be gone for 2 days. They were spared when Dad told them he had to fly to New York to visit his agent and that he would be back Sunday night. Dad was gone long before Jordan and Connor, along with Aaron and Travis, made their way into the woods Friday evening after school. Travis brought a tent for him and Aaron, answering Jordan's unasked question about the sleeping arrangements. Connor brought his high-definition camera Dad had bought him for his last birthday to document the hunt for the Texas Devil. Jordan hoped Dad would never find the footage. He would kill the boys if he discovered that they'd wandered into these dangerous woods. Irony of ironies. Connor took them to the spot he'd scouted the other night. It was a small, round patch of treeless land, though thin trees bordered the area. It was only 5 in the evening, but it was already getting dark. The kids began setting up their tents. The cousins' was fairly small, and it would be cramped. Aaron and Travis's was slightly larger and much newer looking. Jordan could only imagine what they would do in there. His face grew hot and red as his heart hammered with jealousy. The teens started a small fire once it got colder and heated up hot dogs and marshmallows on sticks. Aaron had tofu dogs and patties that smelled quite good once cooked. Then they discussed the best ways to go about searching for the mysterious devil. Everyone except Jordan was eager to begin right away, despite the darkness. They had plenty of flashlights, and cell phone reception was excellent in case they needed to call for help. It was 8 o'clock when the search began. The group decided to begin where the last victim had been found. The area was no different from any other part of the woods, and there was no way to tell if they even had the correct place. Connor assured the others that he knew where he was going. His certainty made Jordan uneasy. The group found nothing there and so moved on to the next murder site, which was located near a stream at the bottom of a slight rise. There they found what looked like animal prints in the damp soil. There were also a few broken sticks near the tracks. Travis found a hole a few feet away from the stream. It was large enough to hold a man. Jordan got a very bad feeling as he stared at the hole. It was at least 6 feet deep and 2 feet wide. It looked like a vertical grave. Jordan shivered as the explorers moved on. After an hour, the group returned to camp, dejected. Besides the weird hole and animal tracks, they found nothing noteworthy. The night grew colder as the hour grew late. The teens decided to call it a night shortly before midnight. Jordan and Connor lay shivering in their tent. Jordan could hear noises coming from Aaron and Travis's tent, and he grew furious. He could imagine what the couple was doing next door. Suddenly, he exited his tent and walked a little ways to one side of the campsite. He stood on rocks and sticks that poked through the soles of his sneakers, trying to finish pissing as quickly as possible, so that he could get out of the freezing cold and into slightly less freezing cold. He almost didn't want to return to camp. He didn't enjoy knowing the girl he liked was making out with her jerk of a boyfriend. Jordan decided he'd get blankets. He wasn't used to this much cold. Not to mention thunderstorms. He and Connor would always become practically catatonic once the lightning and thunder came, no matter how much older they got. Connor had even dug a hole in Jordan's closet to hide inside during such a storm. The two had been playing in Jordan's room at the time, but Jordan never said anything to Dad. A branch snapped somewhere ahead of Jordan, startling him. He stared into the darkness, but saw nothing except trees. And then something moved.